Hello, everyone. We still have some severe thunderstorm risks. Severe thunderstorms are defined by their ability to produce severe hail, which is 1 inch in diameter or greater, severe wind gusts, which is 59 miles per hour or greater, or, of course, a tornado. So just keep that in mind. I don't know if that's stated enough. So that's what these forecasts are based on, and these come from the Storm Prediction Center, the SPC. They're in Norman, Oklahoma. Anyway, so here's today's risk for Thursday. We do have a little bit of a marginal risk kind of left over there in the panhandle of Florida and adjacent areas of Alabama and Georgia, but certainly this area up here in the northern plains is what catches your attention, that level 2. We'll zoom in on that, and that is 2 out of 5. This this is a combination of coverage of severe thunderstorms and a little bit of intensity too. So you're looking at this area from southeast parts of South Dakota straight down into central and a little bit of eastern Nebraska as well. So the threat level on both hail and also on severe wind gusts is below what I usually report. So if it's less than 10%, I probably won't show it. So just understand that that is a minimal risk. In fact, this entire area is not overly risky. I will break down the tornado risk, though, for you and show you this 2% area here from North Platte and Kearney northward into a little bit of southern South Dakota. So speaking of the wind risk, it is at 15% in this area here, and the hail risk is basically not really showing up at all. So that's, again, if it's 5%, I probably won't show it unless it's included with the 15% as well. Now, that tornado risk is also showing up in NATOcast. It's a broad brush kind of a 2% area, so very, very close to what the SPC has outlined. Very, very close, as a matter of fact. And Colorado State University also has a tornado probability, upper left part of this chart here, and that has a similar kind of a 2% area in very much the same area, maybe a little bit more to the north, and kind of ho-hum on basically hail and on wind probabilities, both reaching 15%, though very close to that slight risk area. So the risk area certainly is central Nebraska, eastern Nebraska, and into parts of southern and southeastern South Dakota for all modes of severe weather. I think they're about equally balanced. Maybe the hail and the wind risk a little bit higher, especially the wind risk. Then we go to Friday. We have two marginal risk areas. That's what one has a name attached to it. It's marginal. One there in the high plains from the foothills, basically of the Rockies from Denver southward into North Dakota. And then we have this marginal risk, which has expanded back into this area a little bit more from what it was in previous runs. Now, embedded in that, there is a tornado risk. It sits right now at 2%, and it does cover areas of, well, most of Missouri except for the northwest corner, not including Kansas City or Maryville, although they're in a just a marginal risk, basically. But this Des Moines, apart from southeast portions of Iowa, straight south into northeast Arkansas, does have a 2% tornado risk associated with it. Now, I've been watching this the last couple of days, and there's been some debate about where they're actually centered this. Yesterday, it was looking a lot like this area, and I still wouldn't throw that away yet. But maybe this area might be more at risk, including St. Louis. I'll show you NATOcast on the 12Z run for tomorrow. They have a 3% tornado risk there, right around the Hannibal Quincy area and northwest of the St. Louis area, with a 2% surrounding that. So not as quite as close to, let's say, southwest Missouri or south central Missouri as it was, but I think there's some room for interpretation there. This certainly does have the best overall bulk shear to support supercells, and probably the best low-level wind shear to support tornadoes. I will admit that, but I do think, especially as we get into evening, these areas out here might actually become a little more tornado friendly. Let's take a look at CSU's look at things. They go all the way up into Iowa with the tornado risk and down into that same area we just talked about. Notice, though, that hail, pretty much a no-show, and wind, not so much either. So what we're looking for here is kind of isolated supercells. This is a front, by the way, that's cutting through the plains with enough maybe low-level backing of the winds to support a little bit of a tornado risk with any isolated supercell that can manage to take hold before it becomes linear. Now, we look ahead to Saturday. The only risks left of any subsequent really for the rest of the forecast is this marginal area here through Tennessee, northern Alabama, into Kentucky and also through New Mexico. So again, when I show you these, there's room when you get a little bit closer, maybe for a slight risk, especially if we get a little more confidence on what type of weather system and instability and shear we're talking about. On Saturday's outlook, the tornado bullseye is there right around Huntsville. But that's it. And there's a wind risk down here in parts of Louisiana and Mississippi. And then after that, again, the probabilities beyond Saturday are pretty low, so I chose not to include them. We can look at Northern Illinois University's supercell composite for the entire next 7 days, and the probabilities are actually pretty low, but they do show up maximized there in Kansas and Nebraska. And then beyond that, week 2, this is all the way into August 6th through August 12th. Pretty broad band of high probability supercell occurrence through the Corn Belt and back into, Nebraska and South Dakota and even into Wyoming. And then week 3, deep into August, the 13th through the 19th. This backs off even more right up into Canada, Montana, portions of Wyoming, and South Dakota.